Blobs of oil, which are floating up in every part of this waterlogged mass, were allowed to reach the surface, they would escape and be lost. But if, before the oil has time to get there, a layer of porous rock is laid down on top, and on top of that again, a cover of waterproof material to seal it off, the oil will stay sandwiched in under its cover rock. No matter how many extra layers we add to the sandwich. We can bring the land and sea back again now and see how in the course of time just those kinds of rock were built up which were needed to contain the oil and seal it in. As the mud built up nearer the surface, all the shellfish and corals which thrive in warm, shallow water began to grow and multiply, until the whole sea floor was covered deep with their skeletons. In Iran, this limy mud hardened into nearly 1,000 feet of limestone, a brittle rock which usually contains lots of pores and cracks. In this sort of rock, the oil is soaked up and can move about quite freely through the cracks. Sometimes the water became so shallow that large areas were cut off from the open sea. Whenever that happened, the sheltered water steamed away more quickly in the hot sun and soon became so salt that nothing could live in it, so there were no more shells. The different kinds of salts separated out on top of the limestone in a tight-fitting plastic cover, something like putty. So that when the oil, floating up through the waterlogged limestone, arrived at this cover rock, it could get no further. Even when the sea returned, the oil still remained locked under its cover rock. But immense forces were again at work, preparing to change the face of the world. Very slowly, the crust of the earth was pushed along in folds like a tablecloth. Far below, the rocks were cracking and breaking, but the flexible stuff which covered them flowed easily into new shapes. As the water in the rocks found new levels, so the oil floated up to new positions. Of course, all these events took a very long time and should be measured in millions of years. The new hills were trimmed into shape by wind and weather. The loose stuff spread out into the new valleys, where new rivers began to carry the mud back to the sea. Where the brittle limestone has arched into a definite dome, like a whale's back, we can expect the oil to collect under the cover rock. If the cover rock gets worn away, gas and oil escape. But here's another whaleback forming, with oil floating up into it from all sides. This time, the oil cannot escape. It lies trapped in a natural reservoir, and that's where we'll find it today. You'll notice that here in Iran, the surface of the ground gives no indication of what lies beneath. That's where the geologist comes in. He can locate these hidden whalebacks and tell us where he thinks that oil may have collected. Here's a likely spot. We'll start drilling. The oil here is under pressure from the water below. The excess gas, which has filled the space above, is also under pressure. So that when the well is completed and the valve is turned on, it's rather like touching off a siphon of soda water. This is the magic stuff which keeps the wheels of our civilization turning. Supplies of oil have carried us through so far, but all over the world, men are striving to find fresh reserves to meet the needs of tomorrow.
crocodile slinking and sliding, slinking and winking, slinking and stinking. I'll be back for you, slinkers. Aunt?
Billy.
You whistled.
I'm coming home now. That boy will be growing, so I reckon to stay.
Grandpa? Aunt? Can Grandpa walk? His leg. You know, after the accident, you said...
He can walk. Not too far at a time, mind. And not where the ground's too rough.
Not in the bush, then?
No, not in the bush.
You'll have to get another whistle.
Wait a minute. I do believe... Well, I never.
Grandpa's?
I gave it to him for Christmas. We were just kids then, your age. It was a sort of a joke. He was never there when he was wanted, you see. Always down in the bush, adventuring. Cost a whole penny. That was a lot then, for Christmas.
I'd like to give him something. For Christmas.
I can manage. Em? Are there still crocodiles in the swamp, boy? My, how I'd like to see those stinkers again. Sneak up on 'em, quiet-like. Threading through the turrets. It'll be quiet down there, all right. No cars. No trucks. Just you and the slinkers and the turrets. Funny trees, turrets. Always grow in rows. They throw the seed out like that. Always in rows. Have you noticed that, boy? You'd think that they'd been planted like that. But they're not. I'd like to see them.
Why don't you eat it?
Not much point, boy. I won't be needing it now. Not with this.
Might need me.
What's that, boy?
Me. You might want to call me.
Why, so I might. Indeed, I might. Always in rows. Beats me how they get like that. Somehow, the wind must blow the seed along. Somehow. I don't know. But that's how they go. All in straight rows. Just like they were planted. Just like they were planted. And then I jabbed, and down he went, gasping and spluttering into the murky depths.
Now then, Bill, I hope you're not encouraging the boy with the silly old stories.
Swamp.
He's reckless enough as it is.
Chewits.
We don't want him hobbling around half the holidays.
Rose.
Tarzan. Paperback Tarzan. Wonderful stuff. You could just pull it, and pull it, and pull it. I always thought, if only I could get high enough, you know, to get a real swing on it. Tarzan.
Oh, Bill.
Paper bags.
Pretty, isn't it?
Hmm.
Not like the jungle. Hey, boy. Worming through the wattle. Always watching. Weaving through the bracken. Lions. Tigers. The trees are the protectors. They'd give me shelter. I'd hide in them. And all the rustling of the leaves would be them telling me that there's danger or something like that about.
Sherk.
They used to tell me things. Where things were.